The advice and opinions expressed by the host of Autism Live and her guests are meant solely as suggestion and should not be in any way construed as child-specific advice. The Center for Autism and Related Disorders advises working with a board-certified behavior analyst who has experience with autism before starting any intensive behavioral intervention. Any choices you make in determining your child's treatment are completely at your own discretion.
Good morning and welcome to Autism Live. We're here webcasting to you live from the Center for Autism and Related Disorders headquarters in Tarzana, California. I am just left of center today. It's Monday and we had a very exciting weekend around here and I'm going to get to all of that in just a moment. But I have some very exciting things that I want to talk to you about today, and one of them is we have a new sponsor here this week. I'm just thrilled that Elysian Fields Farm is a new sponsor with us, and we're going to be talking to Carol Ellis just a little bit later on today. You may have heard when I was talking to Dr. Doreen Grampachet a couple of weeks ago during Ask Dr. Doreen, and one of you had written in, one of our lovely viewers had written in and asked, why are all of the places that we go to work on horse skills, why are all the camps girl related? And we were kind of talking about that, and I said, you know, they aren't all. It may seem like they are, and go to the people and talk to them, but they're not all. And I referenced Horseboy because we have had the people from Horseboy on the show before, an amazing organization that really takes into account the entire family, and that they have a camp that they do where the whole family goes off. It's the one that I mentioned to you that the first thing they do is take mom for a massage. How much do we love these people, right? Well, Elysian Fields Farm is getting ready to have a Horseboy event, and so we're going to be talking about that throughout the day and encourage you to go to their website. If you have any possibility of being able to attend this event, I just think it's amazing for the entire family. And again, at Elysian Fields Farm, they're going to be doing that from July 19th to Sunday, July 21st. So if you have a child that you would like to introduce to horses, these people are incredible at what they do. And as I mentioned before, they take the whole family into consideration. It's really something on my bucket list. And if you have the ability to do that, I want to encourage you to take advantage of that. But we're going to be talking with Carol Ellis from Elysian Field Farms a little bit later on today, and we're going to talk more about this amazing opportunity throughout the week. Okay, I want to remind all of you that this show is completely meant to be interactive. We hope that you will take advantage and ask the questions that you want to ask, and ask for information about more things, because really that's what we're here about, is providing you with information, hooking you up with the right people to get the help and support that you need, whether you yourself are an individual who's on the autism spectrum, or you're a parent, teacher, or practitioner who's working with a child on the spectrum. I know that you want to be as efficient and as effective as possible, right? Isn't that what we all want when we get up in the morning? I know I do. And I always like to remind all of you that I am not an expert in autism. I'm just sharing here because I'm a parent. But getting back to, we hope you'll interact. Emily's going to show you some of the different ways that you can get in touch with us here, some of the ways that you can interact with us, and some of the different ways that you can just flat out watch the show. And a lot of people have had questions. I've gotten to meet a great many of the public in the last couple of weeks, thanks to some of the events that we've gone to. You'd think it was April, Autism Awareness Month, but it's not. But it's Autism Awareness every day, right? But a lot of you have talked about, oh, well, you're watching the full shows, but you want to see just, how can I search just this topic? Well, when we post things, Emily, who's amazing, and our whole team who's amazing, when they post things, they'll post the whole show so that you can be watching through all the different things we do on the show. But then we take snippets, sort of highlights from each show, and put them on as individual standalone episodes. So you can search a topic and say, hey, I want to know more about cognitive skills. And so you can type in cognitive skills and things will come up having to do with that. So I hope that you'll utilize all the different ways that the show is available. There's only one way to watch us live. That's at www.autism-live.com. When you go there, and you'll see a lovely desktop, and there's a white box that is now active 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and you have the opportunity to type anything that you want in there. Hit enter, and it will show up on the screen so that I can see it the next time I'm here in the studio doing a live show. There is a show that plays 24 hours a day, 7 days a week there, and you can tune in and see some form of the show there all the time, but we break into that feed for 10 hours a week to do live shows, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to noon Pacific time. That translates to 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. Eastern time. And then depending on where you are in the world, you'll need to do the math. Because, just when I think I have it figured out when things are, then we have daylight savings time. And then throw the whole thing out. And some of you are on daylight savings time, some of you aren't. So I'll count on you to do the math. It's best, not me, for when you can watch the show. But we hope that you'll tune in the way in which is informative and conducive to you getting the information that you need. And if you see something and you go, gosh, I just wish they did this, let us know, because we're all about being here for you. That's really what this show is about, is for you. It's not for me, it's for you. So tell us what you need and we'll do our level best. That's what I can promise you. And I said before, I'm a parent. My son is now 10. That's... I don't know how many times I've said that because he just turned 10 last week. And he was diagnosed with autism at the age of 2.5. And this last week, I'll tell you what, has been a swift kick in my pantalones, because first we went to the Taco Picnic last Sunday. And what an amazing thing that was. And boy, we got to see the full gamut of experience there. The parents who are the pioneers, who got there before there was a whole lot of support. They created the support for all of us. And then the new parents who are coming in, who are so savvy. Oh my gosh, these young parents who have it so much more together than I ever did. I'm so impressed with all of you who are getting your children diagnosed at 18 months and hitting it hard, starting ABA in the 2s. My goodness, bless you, because you're the future and you're showing everybody how this gets done. And everybody's sitting up and taking note. So I bless you for your hard work and getting in there early. And then all of us who are in the middle that, there was some help, there was some support, we got services or we didn't get services, and we're figuring it out as we go, right? So all of that. And then on this last Saturday, just 2 days ago, we did the first of a series that we're going to be doing here, where we were talking to dads. And let me just tell you, it took my breath away to hear everything that these dads had to say. I'm so excited. We're not going to talk about it overly much. There's a lot of footage to be edited, and we'll keep you posted on later on in the summer when we get around to showing you that. But amazing, life-changing. So I can't even tell you how grateful I am to be here and to have this time with you, and for us to be talking about things that are possible. That's what it's all about, talking about what is possible. Because I don't know about you, but I could sit here all day and talk about all the things that aren't happening, people who aren't paying attention. You've seen me get upset here before on the show before. But instead, as much time as we can, and we have to go through the grief, right? And we have to go through some of the anger, right? And some of the denial and some of the bargaining, all of those stages, right? But when we get into action and talking about what's possible, that's the ticket. That's when good stuff happens. So we try to do that as much as possible. And we hope that you will participate with us. One of the ways that we get into action every morning morning, our little warm-up, it's like a little constitutional, our jog around the block is that we take and do jargon of the day. One word, one phrase, one acronym. We try to make sense of it and figure out what are we talking about in our real lives, not the textbook, right? We want to make these words jump off the page and make sense within the context of our lives and what we're trying to accomplish. So we'll give you an actual definition, which is often more jargon than the jargon itself. And we like to make fun of that when that happens. And then we give you a working definition, less specific, right? But more specific to us and what we're trying to accomplish. All right, so our term today is one that when you get your head wrapped around it can get very exciting. It is adaptive fluency. All right, let's take a look at what our actual definition is. Demonstrating skills that facilitate community integration and independence in an effective and efficient manner. So you got these two words here, adaptive and fluency, right? Let's take a look at what our working definition is. Being able to perform life skills with accuracy, ease, and timing. When we talk about adaptive skills, we're talking about those real life skills. It's everything from being able to toilet, which includes being able to dress yourself and zip up your pants afterwards and button them, right? Wash your hands, prevent the spread of germs, feed yourself. And for a very small child, that can just be the spoon activity and the fork activity, which involves some fine motor, yes, but we're talking about actually being able to chew and ingest the food, to later on being able to shop for the food, to be able to make decisions about, which food am I going to buy, which food am I going to eat now, preparing a snack for ourselves, making a bed, doing laundry. I mean, all of those life skills, brushing your teeth, brushing your hair, taking a shower, cutting your own fingernails. And these skills come along at different times in the development of anyone, right? Whether they're on the spectrum or not. We're not expecting a 2-year-old to clip their own toenails. That would be beyond ridiculous, right? But we build these adaptive skills, and there's always something for a young person to be working on in terms of adaptive skills. What you're going to work on with a 2-year-old is going to be vastly different than what you're going to work on with an 18-year-old, and that's in the completely neurotypical world. Stop and consider that with our kids, we want to be working on things that are age appropriate, but also skill level appropriate. What is within their wheelhouse that they could be working on right now, and building blocks to make that happen. So we work on adaptive skills, and we have all kinds of lessons on adaptive skills, but at some point, and we work on generalization, right? But at some point we want to get to fluency. Fluency is when, we can teach all of the different things that you need to do to be able to clip nails. And we can take that very slowly, but at some point we want the person to be able to do it with accuracy and speed. That's the fluency part, so that it's seamless for them, that it's easy for them, that it's not the big rigmarole. When I think about when we all learned how to drive, and how, it was the, okay, what am I doing? And, hands at 2 and 10, and I got to think through the whole thing. And then eventually we got to fluency where, you're turning the wheel, you're shifting, you're doing whatever, and you're doing it with a speed and accuracy that is real life efficiency. Well, we can do that with all adaptive skills. We want to work towards that moment of fluency so that the child is able to unbutton, unzip, sit down on the toilet, do what they have to do. They do all the wiping with the speed and accuracy, because speed isn't the only thing, right? We want accuracy. If the child is wiping and it's really quick and they're flushing the toilet, woohoo, right? But if they didn't get what they needed to get when they wiped, not so woohoo, right? So the fluency of being able to do these life skills with speed and accuracy, when it happens, it is truly an amazing thing. When it isn't happening, it can be really, really difficult. I have seen lately that there are some adaptive skills that I need to go back and shore up with my son, because he's at an age, and I think that's probably typical of 10-year-old boys, that, he learned all this stuff. It's just not important to him, right? It's not reinforcing to him. So we had a little conversation with Dr. Jonathan Tarbox on Friday. One of you had written in about grammar and do I keep correcting my son with grammar? And I said, boy, do I relate, because it drives me buggy that I have a son who says I seen it. And every conversation with him, I'm on him about it. And Dr. Tarbox, the fabulous Dr. Tarbox, reminded me that, he asked the simple question, how's that working? Well, I'm still doing it, so clearly it's not working, and suggested that we not correct in the moment, that we take and make positive reinforcement outside of the moment to work on those skills to get the practice, which I did implement over the weekend, and with success, immediate success. I want the long-term success, of course. So, proof is still in the pudding. And, but it reminded me that there are other things that I could work on, especially in terms of the adaptive stuff, that I could go back and make it worth his while and not expect him, because there are just some things that we didn't get to fluency on, and some steps that are missing. So, I got a new lease on life. I'm excited about it. Okay, so adaptive fluency, something that is important for all of our kids, no matter what their age and no matter what their skill level. When we talk with parents who, let's face it, there's a big spectrum. Some of our kids are more affected than others. And when we talk about even the cases where children are the greatest effective, we want to work on adaptive fluency. I am told, I am not an expert, but I am told by our experts that there is not a child out there that cannot be trained and taught to toilet. And we want to especially work on that with fluency, because there's a self-esteem that comes with that is invaluable. Can't put a price tag on it, right? So we're all, whether we realize it or not, working on and wanting to work on adaptive fluency, being able to do those life skills with accuracy, ease, and efficiency. All right, we always have a question of the day for you. We hope that you will write in, especially on our Facebook. We're going to have time a little bit later on. I scheduled it in because sometimes lately we haven't had time, but I've scheduled it in so that we will have time to check in on what you guys have written for what adaptive goals are you working on right now. Are you working on phone skills, or are you working on the child being able to drink with a straw? Are you working on them being able to pay their bills, or are you working on the child being able to make their bed, to put their pajamas on, or are you working on the toileting? Are you working on washing hands, brushing teeth? I want to know, because there's a lot of things that I think we don't necessarily think of, because there's always something to be worked on. And no matter what program we're doing, and no matter how many hours you have, because I know some of you have written in and said, I'm doing skills, but I've only got 5 hours a week, or I've got 10 hours a week that I can devote to skills, or, we have a 15-hour-a-week ABA program that people come and work on, and how do I prioritize which levels? And, I'm always making the case for include play skills, right? But you always want to include adaptive skills unless your child is completely caught up with adaptive skills. And even then, there's always something new to be learned. I reference my friend who has a completely neurotypical son who's now 20, 21, and her talking about having to pack his suitcase when he was 19 to go someplace. And I said, why are you packing his suitcase? Well, because he doesn't know how to do that. And I said, well, what day is he gonna learn how to do that? And I don't know what the answer to that question is. I always say, I want the manual that says, when they're 11, you want to start working on this aspect of packing skills so that when they're 18, they know how to pack their own bag to go off to college. But there is no manual that does that. Skills will teach you how to teach that, but there's no manual that says this is the day that's right for this child. And our kids are all different, whether they're on the spectrum or not. But there is always an adaptive skill to work on, I guess is my point. Somebody else who's a 16-year-old did not know how to pump gas, had their driver's license, but did not know how to pump gas because they just hadn't gotten around to it. All the opportunities of all the years that they had stopped and put gas in a car, they never had gotten around to it because there were other things going on, right? But when do you teach these things? Now is a good time, depending on what the skill is. All right, we always have a topic of the week. Can you guess what the topic is? If you said adaptive skills, you would be a winner. All this week, we're going to be talking about that and all these different skills, how we teach them, how we get great success. I want to say that this is an area where we know without any doubt, ABA is so effective at teaching adaptive skills with all of our kids, all of them. So there is no doubt about that. I think the place where ABA gets cut short is that a lot of people think it's only for teaching adaptive skills or very early skills. It's not. I mean, you can teach very far-reaching executive function skills with kids on the autism spectrum with great success using ABA, but we know everyone, there is nobody that is there's no one who thinks otherwise. There's nobody going to make the case and go, oh, I just don't think you can teach that using ABA. Everybody concurs. ABA, adaptive skills, gets it done. So that's a fabulous thing. We don't need to argue with anybody to get these things done. And a lot of times there's funding available, whether it's through insurance or other resources, to be able to teach kids on the autism spectrum adaptive skills. All right, some of the different things that we have going on today. We really have a very exciting day. We're going to have our stress tip in just a little while. We've got some ABA basics coming up for you and adaptive skills. We're going to be talking about these different skills, how we talk about them. And in the next hour, not this hour, but in the next hour, we're going to be joined by Carol Ellis from Elysian Fields Farms to talk with us about the event that's coming, Horseboy, coming to their farm. It's an amazing opportunity, and I hope that you'll try to take advantage of that if you can. All right, we're going to take a break, and we're going to be back right after these messages.
Hi guys, welcome back. For the month of June, I figured we'd do some cool things that are kind of like summer camp activities. So the activity we're doing this month is making a shoebox guitar. The materials you'll be needing are an old shoebox, a paper towel roll, a pencil, a stencil, rubber bands, a crayon, and an X-Acto blade, which only the adults will be using. So first things first, I have a shoebox and I painted it just so it's a little bit more interesting. This is an opportunity for your kids to decorate however they choose. They can keep it simple or do some stripes with paint, or you can always use, stickers or tape instead of paint to decorate it. All right, now that I have this, I'm gonna take my stencil, place it on top of the shoebox, and I'm gonna draw a circle somewhere in the center, okay? So now that I have that, I'm gonna take my X-Acto blade, which is why this is for the adults, and cut out the circle. Next, we're gonna cut out a smaller circle at the top of our shoebox guitar. The reason we're going to do this is so that we have a place to insert our paper towel roll, aka the stem of the guitar. And I'm gonna grab my paper towel roll and I'm gonna trace the outside of this so I can cut a hole on the top of this too to stick this in so it just looks a lot more realistic. It won't be usable, but it'll look pretty cool. Now that it's been traced, now I'm gonna cut it out with the X-Acto blade. And again, this is something that only the adults should be doing. Now that I have both of the holes cut in this, I'm gonna take my guitar strings and place them on. As you can see, it's missing one thing. It's stem, so now I'm gonna put this in the hole we just cut out. All right, the last thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my crayon and put this in. And then after that, your guitar is totally done and you're ready to rock out with your kids. And if you're really cool, you'll make another one so you and your child can play together while doing socio-dramatic play, or work on imitation skills where you play a pattern on here and then they try to repeat it. I hope you and your child had lots of fun making this. And until next time, rock on.
Can you see me flying by your side?
Welcome back. Now it is time for our stress tip of the week. And I had something else planned, but somebody said something the other day that kind of rocked my world. They said, we are human beings, not human actings. And that it is important to remember to sometimes just be. And, you know, I'm a big one for talking about here on the show because I do believe in the power of action. I really do. And that when you're feeling bad about something, to take some action, and that helps to remove stress. I really do believe that. But especially in light of the fact that Nancy Alspaugh Jackson was talking last week about going on a retreat and just having to be silent and be. And then this person saying we're human beings, not human actings. It really has brought home to me that it's important to schedule time to just be. And that in amongst our time that especially if we're parents working with kids on the autism spectrum, we get into this thing of, you know, how many hours are we working on? And everything's an opportunity. And, you know, and I'm always saying that to you guys, there's teaching opportunities all the time, all the time, all the time. But it is important that we schedule time to just let our kids be, and for us to just be. And it reminded me that in the first, I want to say it was at least the first year, if not 2 years of our intensive ABA, that we would get a form and we would be asked to block off time that we weren't available to do therapy for whatever reason, like maybe your child was going to speech or OT or whatever. And I know for a fact that at least the first year I sent the form back with nothing blocked off. I said, this is our priority, and there is nothing that overrides this. We'll schedule everything else around our ABA schedule. Excuse me, because it was really important to me that I wanted to be at that between 30 and 40 hours in that first year. And so we did have services from the school, and I made them be around our card schedule. And it didn't make me a very popular person, but it was how I felt. Then when we got into, it was somewhere between the second and the third year that I asked for 1 day a week for no therapy. And we chose to have it be on a Sunday. And it was a day where we upheld the principles of ABA, but that I let my son play. And it happened right around the time when he got into Legos. And there were amazing things that would happen on that day that left us freer to come back on Monday and do what we had to do. And we got to that point probably because we as a family were all showing the signs of stress, both physically and mentally. So I throw that out to you, that it is so important to find that time to just be. And I always feel guilty when we're not doing something, but it's important. You are doing something, you're being. And to let our kids be, I do let him have some time where he can just fuzz out and be a kid. There's nothing more exciting to me than when I leave him to his own devices for a short period of time. I'm not talking about hours and hours and hours on end, but to see him be creative with something and really get into something. One of the gifts that he got was a flying saucer that hovers. It's a hovercraft, a remote control hovercraft. And to see him playing with that the other day and being creative with it, and important. It can't all be structured, right? And maybe, the fine line is that when we do the visual schedule that we've been talking about, we do that visual schedule, and that we block in some time of just being. When you think back on all the really exciting, fabulous things that you've done in your life, that's great. But some of my best memories too are stuff that just, when we were just sitting there being, conversations that you have with people that are important to you, when maybe nothing else is going on. It's good stuff. So we're human beings. Taking action is important, but being is just as important and helps to reduce that stress. I'm going to try that on in the next couple of weeks, and I hope that you will too. We're going to take a break and come back with more of Autism Live, and we're taking your questions. Please feel free to write in on the live feature. We'll be back after these messages.
You say howdy, we say hi. Let's get rowdy, let's get wild. Let's get wild. Let's get wild. Let's get wild. Let's get wild.
Hi, you're back at Autism Live. I'm Lisa Ackerman, and you're at the Allergy-Friendly Cooking Show. And we have kind of an interesting surprise. I brought my sister. That's surprise number one.
Yeah. The fact that I came is surprise number
I
two.
know, right?
Hi, Jamie. Hi.
And we're doing one of my favorite recipes, an ode to Sue, a Taka supermom. She created a kid-friendly sushi recipe for her son, Zach. So hi, Zach. Thanks for allowing us to borrow your lunch recipe because it's really awesome. So we can't wait to show it to you. First, what I'm going to do is we're going to cut up some of these things so we can get ready. I'm going to take an organic cucumber and just make some slices of this that we're going to use in a little bit to add some extra textures to the seaweed roll that we're going to do. And I'm just making long slices so we can place this in our sushi later on. And then I got, of course, a nitrate-free, gluten-free, fantastic sausage. Love this. So this is a barbecue chicken that we had last night. It was pretty awesome. Make sure that I have a little bit of everything here for the sushi roll. So now let's make the sauce. Use my gluten-free, casein-free, soy-free soy sauce. And of course, my most favorite thing in the world is crushed ginger. Love this stuff.
I thought that was garlic at first.
No, you can actually
I didn't know you
do
buy it that way.
this. Ginger is just such a blessing for digestion. So I just made this quick sauce, super easy. So here's my cooked rice. This rice is very, very sticky. I use this really great little water and apple cider vinegar combination just to keep my hands. That's what the sushi chefs do, is a little trick, which is like pretty.
They're used for apple cider.
I know, and I love that stuff. So good for you. So all I'm doing is just keeping my fingers a little bit damp so the rice doesn't stick to my fingers. And we're just pushing this all through. If your kids don't like green, not a problem. You just flip it over. So that way we can hide the green stuff from our kids and it will be rice out as part of the recipe. So let's have a little fun. We're gonna do my favorite, avocado. And if you're sending this to lunch with your kids, you may wanna put a little extra of the lemon on there because it will get brown. And I even have sensory issues for the brown stuff. So there we go, there's our avocado. So the next thing I'm gonna do is do a couple of the cucumbers. I know, it's so easy and it's so cute and we're gonna eat healthy.
You're gonna make one for me for lunch today.
Yes,
right?
you can have one for lunch. Now comes the fun stuff, the sausage.
So you could put anything in here.
Anything.
Jeez.
Anything. It's really just the simplest thing in the entire world. And then, so, you know, it's sushi kids can eat, and I wasn't joking about that. So I may squeeze a little more extra lemon on there. And now I'm gonna take my little sausage, or sauce, excuse me. Just put a little bit on there so we're coating. About a teaspoon. Doesn't it look good? You can get this at any cooking food store. So this is just the little sushi roller, which I think is fun. So I'm gonna put this underneath, and I'm going to start to roll. So you gotta watch how you go through and roll this. So the biggest thing is to try to get it compacted enough. So when all is said and done, we can hide the green stuff. So again, with cutting sushi, you wanna make sure your knife's really sharp. And we also wanna get it a little wet because that way it would make it easier for cutting. So I'm gonna just cut off the ends. So funny. These are our taster bites, Jamie. You can tell me how these taste. Go ahead and try it.
Yum.
I know, right?
See?
And your body kind of goes, wait, I'm waiting for seafood. But you've got awesome sausage, chicken. You've got a full serving of vegetables. And is that good? Yeah. Yum? You're not lying? You're not lying? Okay, good.
I like more sauce.
You like more
We
sauce?
can even put wasabi in there if you like.
Yeah, if, you know, I think the wasabi, the issue.
Oh, we're making it for kids, sorry.
Yeah, we are making it for kids. This is just a fun way to introduce more foods to your kids and notice they're eating seaweed. We'd love to hear from you. If you have an idea or you want us to convert a recipe, let us know. Jamie, thanks for being my fabulous Vanna White. You can reach us at autismlive@gmail.com or Facebook, facebook.com/autismlive. Or we have thousands of recipes on Taka Now. So go check out the TACA website and let's get cooking. So we'll see you next time. Thanks for joining us.
You say howdy, we say hi. Let's get rowdy, let's get wild. Let's get wild.
I am dying to try that recipe. I was just saying to Emily, I've been looking though, I have to find one of the bamboo roller mats. I can't seem to find. If you guys know, if you know where to buy one, let me know. Because every place I've looked, they've either been out or they just don't have them. So, excuse me. Anyway, we try every once in a while to do sort of a refresher course on ABA and ABA for beginners. And we had somebody who wrote in and said, I'd really like to get some more information about ABA. So I posted for them on our Facebook for them to check out IBT, Institute for Behavioral Training. It's ibehavioraltraining.com. But we also like to be a resource here to let you know some basics for ABA. And I always want to remind you guys that ABA is not invented for autism. That I didn't know that for the longest time. I was like, oh, ABA, it's an autism treatment. Well, yes, it is. But it is also something that they use to treat all kinds of things, anything that is behavioral. And since all of us who are living on this planet are engaged in behavior, we are all candidates for ABA therapy if we want to change behavior. So having said that, we do use it very specifically for autism, and there are some very specific methods that we learn having to do with autism that help us to be more efficient and more effective. And the whole principle that this is all based on is that all the behaviors that we engage in on a regular basis, we do them because there is some sort of reward or paycheck, if you will, for that behavior. Think about everything that you do on a regular basis, or even a semi-regular basis. The fact that you get up in the morning and you brush your teeth, and you get dressed, and you eat breakfast, and maybe you have a cup of coffee. You get in your car and you drive someplace, right? All of the things that you do on a regular basis, you do your laundry, you talk to other people or you don't talk to other people. Maybe you eat more than you should. Maybe you engage in behavior that's really not good for you, like you smoke cigarettes. All of these are behaviors. Turning on the light in the bathroom, turning the water on and letting it warm up before you wash your face or hop in the shower. These are all behaviors. And if you think about them, all of them are behaviors that you do because you get something in return. Now, two of us can engage in the same behavior, but for completely different paychecks. You know, I get up every morning and I brush my teeth, and I'm sure that I should be brushing my teeth so that when I go to the dentist, I don't have more cavities. I'm sure that that's the reason that I should, but it's not. I can tell you that the reason why I brush my teeth in the morning is because I like the feeling of having my mouth being clean. You know, I like the feeling on my teeth after they've been brushed. But we could line up 8 people and have them say, yes, I brush my teeth every morning. And they might, when they really get down to brass tacks, say, well, the thing about it is that, you know, I had dental work done and I'm terrified of it. Or oh, I like to be able to smile and know that my teeth look good. Or I want my breath to be fresh. Everybody might have a different paycheck, but we're all getting something from it. Or guess what? We wouldn't keep doing it. You know, sometimes we get into the habit of doing something, but even that habit has some sort of a reward for us because we're keeping things the same and maybe we don't like things to be different. That's still a paycheck. So all behavior has some sort of a paycheck. So when we look at our kids with autism and we think, okay, we can break everything down into 2 categories: behaviors we want to see more of and behaviors we want to see less of. And in both cases, we're looking at it, but from opposite ends of the equation. For the behaviors that we want to see less of, we say to ourselves, what's the paycheck for that behavior? And can I give this paycheck for some other behavior, or can I take the paycheck away and make this behavior that is getting in my child's way of communicating, that's getting in my child's way of being happy, that's getting in my child's way of learning, can I change the equation? Can I change the paycheck and the way the paycheck is delivered so that they're happier? Can I do that? And the answer is yes. On the other side of the equation, what are the behaviors that you want to see your child engage in more? What do you want to teach? And if we make it so that there is a paycheck for learning, and if we make it so that there is a paycheck for doing the behavior that helps them to learn and to take on new skills, then we will have great success. What a concept. Changing the paycheck to make sure that we're encouraging behavior that we do want and not rewarding behavior that we don't want. Okay, so let me give you an example of both of these things. So for the child, think of a challenging behavior that your child is engaging in that's preventing them from learning. And it might be as simple as a child who doesn't make eye contact, so it's making it very difficult to communicate. Can we encourage more eye contact? Yes, that's something we can teach, right? So what we do is reward the child for when they make eye contact, and we find a way. And I've always given the example of what they did with my son was that he was really into this pirates mode. He'd seen Peter Pan and was all about that. So they would do paper swords with him, and it wasn't like they sat him down. He was 3 and nonverbal. It wasn't like they sat him down and said, "Look, dude, we're just going to need some more eye contact from you, and when we get more eye contact, then we're going to give you more toys." It didn't work like that because he didn't have enough language to understand that. So they made paper swords so that nobody could get hurt, and they would tear them, painstakingly tear them, so there was no paper cuts because the paper was all, the edge wasn't crisp. Because I had offered, I was like, "Do you want me to cut a bunch of these?" No. We want them torn. And again, this is not something you do for every child. This was specific to my child because he was into pirates. And they spent time with him and played with him and saw, this is what this kid is into. So how can we use this as a paycheck? Brilliant. Just brilliant. So they would play paper swords with him, right? And he would get all excited, his little chubby 3-year-old self, and he'd be, doing the swords. And as soon as they had him engaged and he knew that I'm going to get to play, then our therapist would be doing the sword and he would freeze like a statue. And my son, we'd be hopping all around him like a bunny, and jabbing, trying to get him to play. Couldn't figure out where the on button was for the therapist. The therapist didn't say anything. He just froze until the millisecond that my son's eyes, and while he was looking at him, his eyes crossed and didn't stay for more than a millisecond, but crossed his. And as soon as he got that sliver of eye contact, the therapist started again. And then each time, he'd go like another 2 minutes and he'd freeze. And it took like an afternoon. And my son, who didn't have verbal capacity to understand anything, started to realize, okay, the on button is eye contact. If I look at him, he starts again. So he would make eye contact. And then they started rewarding it in other situations too. And eventually, as my son progressed and had language, they could say, "Look at me," and he would look at them, right? I would tell you that, it made an amazing difference for my son. My son still has days where eye contact is just not his favorite thing, but he knows how to do it and he knows the rewards for doing it, right? It's not his favorite thing, but he's willing to do it to get the things that he wants to do. So there's a perfect example of how somebody can teach something. Then, one of the behaviors that my son had engaged in was banging his head against the floor. So, and the paycheck, unfortunately, because, I'm a parent, and when he would hit his head on the floor, I would respond like a mother and be upset and go scoop him up and rub his head and rock him and try to soothe him and calm him down. Unfortunately, unwittingly, what I was doing was encouraging him to hit his head on the floor, so he was doing it with more often. He was doing it because he got a great paycheck for it. And I couldn't see that until therapists came in and said, "You can't do that. You're encouraging that. You don't want to do that." And so we had to make it as safe as possible for him. And he went in and tried to hit his head against the floor, and it was padded. And he's, tried that much harder to do it. But, and then he came running to me crying, rubbing his head so that I would rock him. And I had to be busy doing something else and not give him that reward for that. And as soon as I did that once, that was the end of the head banging. So we use these paychecks to manipulate and get the behavior that we want. Can we do this in our own lives? You betcha. And when I, think to do that in my life is so much happier. It isn't instinctive. There's the rub. It is not instinctive. In fact, it goes against a lot of what we've been taught in our lives, which is punish, 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 punish. And eventually, everybody will be so tired they'll comply. Except nobody gets that tired, right? Punish, punish, punish. We must teach lessons. We can't let people get away with things. But if we really want to teach, we know what's more effective is offering rewards for the behavior that we want to see and pulling a reward away, and only pulling the reward away, not talking about it or anything when there is behavior that's happening that we don't want to see happening. So that's the crux of ABA. That's what the deal is. Now, are there techniques that you can learn to be more efficient and more effective? Yes. And should you? Yes. I'm so thrilled that now it's an easy thing. You don't have to go, you can, by the way, go away to college and get your master's degree in autism. Did you know you could do that? You can. Endicott College offers a wonderful, world-renowned program where you can go and get a master's degree in autism, and I threaten to do it pretty much once a month. You absolutely can go and do that. I think it's a 3-year program, and you can do most of it online, but one summer, I believe it's just one summer, it might be 2 summers. I think it's one summer though. You have to go and be on the campus, no hardship because it's in Plymouth, Massachusetts. You're right there on the water on a beautiful campus, right? So if you want to, and if you have that much time, I encourage you, go get your master's degree in autism, and then you can come be on the show and be an expert and explain it all to me. But if you were like me and your child has been diagnosed and you need to get your child as much help as you can, and you don't have 3 years to go and do a program at a world-renowned university because you need help today, I'm thrilled that there are ways that you can do that now. And of course, the way that I want to really encourage you to look at, because I know that it's effective and I know that it's efficient, and guess what, it's very inexpensive, is to go to IBT, Institute for Behavioral Training. You can get all the training and all the techniques that you need to understand to be able to help your child and to train other people, by the way, to help your child. And then you're ready for the curriculum of what to teach. You'll know how to teach it. Now you need to know what to teach. And that's the skills program, which we talk about here on the show all the time. Amazing. I encourage everybody to go and do a trial of skills. 14 days, it's free. Go and do it. You'll see what I'm talking about. Don't get overwhelmed by the fact that there's so many different ways that you can use it, because that's a good thing. And you don't need to use it in all the different ways that it's applicable in the first day. But also look at IBT, because you need to, and those trainings, they're all separated. So you can do it a little bit at a time. They are as inexpensive as $7.50 a module for some of the modules. You can take notes, and then you own the training. So you can do it, and then your spouse can do it, and then you can give it to your babysitter, and then you can give it to the people that you're training to work with your child. Very, very cost effective. That's ibehavioraltraining.com. And feel free to write in questions about ABA, because myself or somebody who's an expert, if you want the parent perspective, I'm here for that, but we have experts to also explain the more intricate clinical types of things. Please remember that we don't give child-specific advice. No one does on this show, because that would be a disservice to you and your child. But lots of information that hopefully can help you on your way. All right, we have to take a short break, but we'll be back in just a couple of minutes. Stick with us.
The Institute for Behavioral Training provides programs to educate students, parents, and professionals proven techniques using applied behavior analysis. Access online video lessons with IBT e-learning. Get one-on-one personalized instruction with IBT face-to-face training. Acquire professional guidance with IBT BCBA supervision. Develop professional growth with IBT continuing education courses. Get access to IBT services today. IBT, 360 degrees of ABA training.
Welcome back. I'm taking a look at what you guys have written on our Facebook, and there's one in particular that really catches my eye. About our question today was, what adaptive goals are you working on right now? And somebody has written in about a change in schedule. And that, I just think that jumps out off the page at me because we're all either dealing with it or facing it. It's about to happen if it hasn't happened already. It's summertime now, and school is ending, and it is going to be a different schedule. Even if your kids are going back to school, it's going to be a different schedule. So how do we deal with a change in schedule for us and for our kids? And one of the things that came up a lot last week was the idea of a visual schedule, that Dr. Grandpichet brought it up. I think Dr. Nadowski brought it up, and I actually think Dr. Tarbox brought it up. That's 3 doctors, and they're all bringing it up. And by the way, all 3 of them are parents. So I think of that, and they have kids at all different ages, right? And I think about, wow, these are people who collectively, their experience with working with children on the autism spectrum, I believe, is probably close to a century's worth of information, and they were all of like minds about this. And I really spent some time thinking about that over the weekend, and about the fact that I feel like, oh, my child is 10, he doesn't need a visual schedule anymore. But the truth of the matter is that maybe he doesn't need a visual schedule that has pictures to go with it anymore, but most of us are working on visual schedules now because we have our phones that have calendars on them, and that's visual schedule. So looking at our kids wherever they are, and if that's the wave of the future, and I've said this before, that Stephen Covey, highly effective habits, 7 highly effective habits, is having a planner. That's why they have the whole Franklin planner business, is based on Stephen Covey's highly effective people, 7 habits. So, and one of the skills that we want our children to have for executive functions is to keep information in a planner instead of feeling like they're going to have it all in their head. That's anxiety causing. Having to keep track of every place that you need to be and everything that you need to be in place, and what you have to have prepared, is anxiety causing. And that we know that having a planner is much more likely that it's going to happen, and you can let go of it then and know, okay, the information is in my planner. And many different ways that we can have a planner, right? So depending on if you have a 2-year-old, the planner is the thing on the wall that has the little Velcro stickies, and you're putting up the pictures, and that's all it is a totally visual with no text planner for your child. And a beneficial thing to do over the summer is to not have it be always the same. That's why you put the Velcro, because things are going to change throughout the year. Even when they're not breaking for summer, we have different seasons and different times. And Tuesday we have music, and Wednesday we have PE, right? So building in for a child that there has to be a certain amount of flexibility, which is very helpful. Then imagine, you've got a 5-year-old, and maybe the visual planner has changed and morphed a little bit. And maybe it's something, if the child has an iPad, that we're keeping it on an iPad. So we're already going to electronic and paperless, but it's still visual. And then, I'm thinking I've got a 10-year-old, and that I made the big leap, and I know I'm a little bit crazy, that it seems a little early, but my son's handwriting skills are still a problem, because I've mentioned before on the show that he had a visual problem that we have corrected, but his handwriting is not caught up because we've been working on other things. And I don't want him to be held back from the things. We're still working on the handwriting, right? But I don't want him to be held back from other things. So he got a phone. And part of it is so that he has a planner with him so that he can be writing his homework down on his phone. My hope is that will help him, because it's the direction he's going to go in when he's 13 anyway. So I've rushed it a little bit because I want him to get it and not be held back by the handwriting. So we're going to have him start to keep his schedule on the phone. We're just going to make that leap and do it here at 10. Now, if you think that's a little crazy, and I think it's a little crazy for a 10-year-old to have a phone, but if there are other ways of doing that. There are just, pocket planners, and there's the student day planners that they can do and write in themselves if they're capable of doing that. And if you have an older child, whether it's, with a tablet or it is on a phone, giving them the opportunity to keep their schedule in that way. By the way, it's very socially acceptable, right? That, even the coolest of the cool, typical kids pulls out their phone and says, oh, I can do it on Friday because, right? So there is that aspect of it too, that it is a social referencing point that I also have seen with my son when we go to school activities, that the kids all whip out their phone or their parents' phone and they begin to do things with each other on the phones. I'm not saying I agree with it, but it gave, whenever we go to things like I'm at a PTA meeting or something like that, and I give my son my phone, then suddenly, there's 4 kids with other phones that are around him, and they're having a discussion about, oh, do you have this app, and can you do this? And suddenly he doesn't have to be putting himself out there. He's got friends and he's interacting. I don't want that to always be the referencing point, but if it works as one in the beginning, it's not the end of the world. So I think going back to that visual schedule, however you decide to do it in whatever format, I think the jury is in. It's beneficial for us. I know I had said a couple of weeks ago, for the summer, make a plan for yourself, whether it's on actual paper or virtual, whatever it is. But when you have a plan, then you'll know more. You'll get more done, and then you can release the anxiety from it. So I would suggest, if you're having difficulties with the change in schedule, get really clear about what's happening when, if your child has the ability to make choices and to state preferences, in any way, shape, or form, either by rearranging cards and saying, this is the one I want to do now. If you can, give them an opportunity to weigh in on it, if that's in their skill level and if it's possible, because it may be that you just need that child to go here at this time and there's no wiggle waggle room around it. But visual schedule and make it a part of what you do, make it a part of what your child does. It actually is a great skill for them to learn, and I think you will find that it will help with transitions, whether they're transitions within the day or whether they're transitions that are happening because the schedule has changed. And it's really going to be helpful for them on some of the harder executive function skills down the road. Why not instill it? Why not install that program in your child early on? That's what I'm going to try to do this summer. Using the phone. Who am I kidding? He's going to show me how to schedule on the phone, because sometimes our kids are just great with technology. All right. We're going to take a break right now and go to the A Word. This is the amazing ongoing documentary being made here at the Center for Autism and Related Disorders. This is a short one. But let's take a look and see what Jack Riley is up to this week.
I know a cute little blue-eyed boy, and his name is Jack. Jack Riley. He got a big, warm, blue-eyed soul that makes your heart beat fast.
I met Temple Grandin 5-6 months ago and showed her a picture of Jack, and she asked me 2 questions. She asked me if he's talking, and I said yes, and she asked me if he's getting 25 to 30 hours of one-on-one behavioral therapy, and I said yes, and she said he's going to be just fine. And that's pretty cool endorsement from someone who knows. I think he's going to be fine. And whatever.
We'll just have to determine what fine is.
Well,
that's yet to be
that's what
determined.
changes, I guess.
What's your name?
My name's Jack. My name's Susan.
No, your name.
What's your name? My name's Jack Riley.
Welcome back. So there we have it. And we've had the opportunity to have Temple Grandin. We've been able to meet with her 3 times now. And we're hoping a little bit later on in the summer. She's got a new book out. So she's a very busy woman, The Autistic Brain. And we want to encourage people to take a look at that book. But I now have had the opportunity to talk with her about my son as well. And It's one of her favorite things to do. If you get the opportunity to meet Temple, one of the first things she does when she finds out that you're an autism parent is she asks, how is your child? And what are you doing? And are you having success? And she likes to give you suggestions about things to do if you've got specific problems. And I know many of you have written in questions for her, and the last time that we had her on the phone, what was it, 34 questions of yours that we asked her. So you can check those out on our Facebook page. She's an amazing, inspirational woman. You know, you have people that you hope to meet sometime because they've affected you in some way. I'm going to get all verklempt here. And sometimes you meet people and they don't quite live up to it, right? There's an element of disappointment sometimes because you realize, oh, they're just people and it is what it is, you know. I gotta say, Temple does not disappoint. If you have an opportunity to hear her speak or to talk to her, she does not disappoint. She is the real deal. So lovely that the A-word mom had an opportunity to meet her, and that the Temple said, you know, get that 35 to 40 hours a week program and he will be just fine. And of course, Dad says, we have yet to determine what fine means, just like I don't know what typical means anymore. What on earth does that mean? And is it really something that anybody wants to strive for? I don't think I'm interested in typical. Which is a good thing because I think that boat has sailed for everybody, not just for my son. I don't think I'm typical too. Who wants to be typical? What's normal? I have no idea what that looks like. In any case, I want to remind all of you that in just in about 15 minutes, we're going to be joined by Carol Ellis from Elysian Fields Farms. This is an amazing place. I'm so excited to talk to her about what they're going to be doing this summer. You've heard us talk before about Horseboy. And Horseboy is a wonderful opportunity. They do short and a little bit longer term camps where it's so much more than learning horseback riding. That just really doesn't become close to describe what they have going on. We did a wonderful, wonderful interview with the creator of Horseboy about a year ago, and you can check that out on our YouTube page. But we're going to have Carol Ellis with us in just a little while from Elysian Fields Farm, and she's getting ready this summer, starting July 19th to Sunday, July 21st, to have a very special Horseboy event at the farm, and we want to let all of you know about that and encourage you to go to their website and check it out and see if it's something that you can make work in your schedule, because Horseboy, it's definitely on my to-do list, on my bucket list of things to do. This is a program that looks at an entire family and brings the entire family together. And as I said, it's ever so much more than just horseback riding, but there is an element of nature and communing with and being on the back of an animal, and the trust and the communication that entails and involves, and what that can do to and for a child and for a family. There are no words, really. It's absolutely an amazing, amazing opportunity. So we encourage you, go to Elysian Field Farms website and take a look at what they're doing July 19th to Sunday, July 21st. This Horseboy opportunity, it's truly, truly an amazing thing if you can make that happen this summer. All right, but we're going to take a break right now. We've got another segment before we will be talking with Carol. And if you have questions about Horseboy or about the camp, she's going to be with us, and you can be writing those in. But that's in about 13 minutes now. So stick with us.
Skills is an online program that provides assessment, curriculum, positive behavior support planning for challenging behavior, and progress tracking, and it does this all in one place. The Skills Assessment and Curriculum addresses 8 areas of development, which even includes advanced higher level areas such as executive functions and cognition, which pretty much makes Skills the only ABA-based set of curricula for teaching more complex skills, things like problem solving, planning, self-management, perspective taking, and even inferring and predicting others' private events. Skills is a 4-step system. Step 1 is to add the child to your account. Step 2 is to start assessment. The skills assessment is the only ABA-based assessment with psychometric research demonstrating the language subscale to have excellent reliability. Every area of human functioning and typical child development from infancy to adolescence was researched, making the skills assessment the most comprehensive of its kind in the world, and we're quite proud of that.
Skills is easy to use. Simply click Start Assessment and begin answering questions. Or simply type in a keyword, find specific activities to assess, and add activities to treatment. Step 3. Choose activities. Once you've completed the assessment, Skills selects from a pool of 4,000 activities categorized by age, level, and skill type to provide you with exactly those activities each child needs. Start by choosing a curriculum, then a lesson, and finally an activity. Click the information icon to view prerequisites, ages in which targets develop, examples, and IEP goals. Click the video icon to watch a short video. Once you've identified an activity you want to teach, adding activities to treatment is a snap. Step 4. Start treatment. Here you can access customizable activity lesson details, add your own customized targets and exemplars, and edit an activity status such as introducing or mastering it. You can even print handouts such as worksheets, tracking forms, visual aids, and other materials. Skills also offers multiple progress charts mapping curriculum progress, lesson progress, and cumulative number of activities and targets mastered over time. The Skills language curriculum is categorized by verbal behavior type so that users can identify progress for verbal operants, such as echoics, mans, tax, and interverbals.
Skills is one of the only programs that provides the ability to write behavior intervention plans, or BIPs, for challenging behavior.
With just a few clicks, the outline of the behavior intervention plan is written for you and ready to be printed and implemented.
You can learn more about Skills today and get started by visiting us at www.skillsforautism.com, or you can call us at 877-975-4559. Skills. Progress starts here.
Welcome back to Autism Live. I'm just responding to somebody. We get questions that come in all different ways, and when we have the opportunity, we share them on the show. We had a mom who was writing in about how frustrated that she is on our Facebook. She says, as a mom, I'm so frustrated right now. As a mom, I've been trying to find out how to help my nonverbal 5-year-old who has been in early intervention since he was 8 months old. I live in Utah and no one knows anything. I've been trying to get him into a GI and an OT and then of course ABA, and I get the "what do you want us to do for him" reaction. I need to find a MAPS doctor, I think, but not sure if there even is one in Utah. And I'm writing back to her to check out, I'm aware of a Dr. Voss in Utah who was a DAN doctor, and I believe the last I had heard was becoming a MAPS doctor. So, and I'll see if I can't hook her up with some specific information about how to get a hold of him. And I want to encourage you, if you're looking for a MAPS doctor, there's a changeover right now, because for those of you who are new to this field, there was something that for a number of years was called a DAN doctor. Those DAN stood for Defeat Autism Now. Then, of course, they weren't allowed to be called DAN anymore because DAN had already been taken by, I think it was like something to do with scuba diving, but somebody had already taken that phrase so that they weren't allowed to be referred to as DAN doctors. And that, when they were DAN doctors, it was through Autism Research Institute, that they have conferences that they hold twice a year, once on the East Coast and then once on the West Coast, a spring and a fall. And a doctor could go and meet with other doctors, and it's kind of a think tank where they would share information and research. But the main focus of the Autism Research Institute was research, and it became too much for them to be, it really was like sort of at a cross purpose. We're doing research, and then we're trying to certify that this group of doctors knows this much about research. And so ARI made, I think, the admirable choice to say, we're going to stick with this one thing because we want to do it very well, which is the research. So it is still a lot of the same people, but MAPS became the new way for doctors to get certified, to demonstrate a certain level of expertise on issues, medical issues having to do with autism. Now, here's the thing that everybody always needs to understand when talking about DAN or MAPS, whether somebody was one and is one, they all come to the table with different skills to begin with. Some of them are osteopaths, some of them are psychologists, some of them are homeopaths, some of them are medical doctors. So they all come in with different skill sets to begin with, and I think you want to look at these doctors in a way that makes sense for you to apply, right? So that if you feel that there are some that are GI doctors. If you're having GI issues, maybe you want to go to a GI doctor who is also a MAPS doctor. Maybe that's not you going to the osteopath. Do you understand what I mean? Or, if you're having GI issues, you don't want to go to the MAPS doctor that's a psychologist, right? So there's more involved than just knowing that they're a MAPS doctor. But having said that, you can go to their website, medmaps.org, I believe it is, and MEDMAPS, and know that they're a very new organization. They're going to be able to tell you who is already MAPS certified, but there are many doctors who were DAN doctors who are not yet MAPS doctors, but are in the process of becoming MAPS doctors. So it can be very frustrating to figure it out because the DAN side of looking up those doctors doesn't exist anymore. But I am aware of a doctor in Utah, Dr. Voss, who was a DAN doctor, and I know had the intention of may already be a MAPS doctor. I'm just not sure where that is at this point. But I want to get back to this idea of, because one of the things that really speaks to me here is a 5-year-old who's nonverbal, who's been getting early intervention since he was 8 months old. And we all talk about how important it is to start early. And I have no knowledge of what this early intervention was whatsoever from what the mom wrote, but she started the conversation with, "I'm frustrated." So whatever it is or has been, she's not happy in this moment in time. And it brings up for me that so often we're so relieved when somebody offers us something and says, here's this thing that we can give and do for your child, and it's a place to put your child. And it isn't always effective. And it isn't always the thing that makes our gut happy. And what I love about this is that it's a mom who's saying, I'm not getting what I need, and I'm asking for it, and I'm still not getting what I need, so I'm coming here and asking you guys, and I'm thrilled that you're asking. This is a mom who's on it, and it reminds me to remind all of us, we don't give up. You ask and ask and ask until you find the person that you want to find. And it isn't a level playing field. There are different services in every single state, and Utah is one of the states that, and I have lots of friends in Utah, and I've taught in Utah, and I love the state of Utah, but it is one of the states that's furthest behind in terms of making sure that every child gets quality, effective ABA. There is no insurance reform. I don't even know if there is a bill in process in the state of Utah, which is upsetting to me because there are children in Utah who definitely need ABA. I know that it will come. I know that with every fiber of my being, but in the meantime, there are children who need it today. So in any case, we're going to do a little bit of research and see if we can't get her a more direct, I'm going to give her the name, Dr. Voss, because she might be faster than I am, and see if she can't get the help and support that she needs as quick as possible. And I thank you for writing in and giving us all that fodder to talk about the difference between DAN and MAPS, and that all early intervention is not created equally. I guess the moral of the lesson is don't get comfortable. You've been offered services and you go, woohoo, now I don't have to worry about this anymore, but don't get comfortable. You need to make sure that it's effective. All right. We are going to take a break, and we are going to get Carol Ellis on the phone via Skype from Elysian Fields Farm and talk about this event that she's got coming up. So if you've got questions about it, have them coming in. We'll be right back after these messages.
When Maddie was diagnosed, I'll be honest, I was very ignorant on what autism was. I knew that autism was basically something that hit boys at the age of 2 to 3. They shut down, and sometimes you think of the typical Rain Man movie. And with Maddie, she was doing all the same signs and symptoms of a typical child with autism spectrum disorder.
Stand up.
She didn't even acknowledge us coming into the room. She had barely any eye contact. She didn't interact with her sisters. She didn't really do anything. She just basically lined up her toys, and that was about it. We have a team of 7 volunteers, or 8 now. We have 8 volunteers, including my husband and I. And I'm the team leader, and so I do all the curriculum and get everything ready each week.
Jana was downstairs until 11 o'clock at night working on curriculum, going through 2 different textbooks. And then we, as a group, meet on Monday nights, and we would go through what the curriculum was from Jana. And a lot of times we would go, well, how exactly do you do that? How do you sit her at the table and do this trial base? Well, what Skills has done for us, it's taken that away from Jana trying to figure out the curriculum for one. She can go down, or even our laptop, and she can sit down, and through all these questions, it comes up with the different programs.
At least for me, it was a relief off my shoulders. I was worried that I might be missing something, missing a curriculum that maybe she needs to know, where Skills, they have every possible thing your child needs to know from 0 to 7. They have a program for that.
What noise is this? Good job!
Every program that we did with her, I knew it was specific for what she needed to learn. Because before Skills, it was a lot of, okay, well, is that really age appropriate for a 2-year-old? You know, because it's not generalized. It's anywhere from 0 to 7. This is what your child needs to know. In most manuals, you'll find. But for this, okay, yep, she should be learning this. And no, she's not 4 yet. She doesn't need to know that yet.
We are so fortunate that Jana was able to attend a conference put on by CARD that opened the door for Skills, and that there's no looking back for us.
We started using the program in November, and it seemed like by January something just clicked, and she has completely kind of came out of her fog that she was in for quite a while.
I have never read a documented case on any child that has not benefited anything from applied behavior analysis, and now with this new Skills and being, you know, like the E version of ABA, I can't imagine it doing anything harmful to their child. It's nothing but exponential growth for us.
To see her now, it just blows us away. I mean, we call her our little miracle child because in 7 months' time, she's just blossomed into this normal, functioning child, and suddenly, we joke about it all the time, like suddenly we have twins.
If you're even thinking about doing it, do it. Because the absolute worst thing you can do is do nothing at all. And even if you use this program and it's just a single mom or a single dad working in the evenings with their child, this program is going to benefit them. It's going to show you where they are, it's going to show you where they need to go, and it's going to show you what skills and how to get there. It is an online book on how to help recover your child.
Welcome back to Autism Live. We're very thrilled to have a very special guest joining us via Skype. Carol Ellis, who is the owner of Elysian Fields Farm, is with us. Carol, are you there?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
So thrilled to have you here today. We had just been talking a couple of weeks ago, Dr. Grandpichet and I, about somebody had written in about horse programs and that they were looking for something for their son, and we mentioned Horseboy and what an amazing program it is. And then you got in contact with us because you're about to have a couple of different events and a workshop there at the farm. Tell us a little bit about what's going to be going on.
Well, we are planning on having both Rupert Isaacson and Ilian out to the farm for a full weekend. Starting Friday night at 6, we're going to have a movie viewing. a question and answer session, and then a demonstration of the method here on the farm. It's $15, and all of that's going to go to the Horseboy Foundation. Then on Saturday and Sunday, we're going to have a workshop where they are going to train us in the Horseboy Method Level 1, which is either writing or non-writing, depending on your level of expertise.
Well, it sounds very exciting. And so the movie that you're going to be viewing, tell us a little bit about what that is.
That is the Horseboy movie. It's what got me interested in this whole thing. I got it on Netflix, watched it, absolutely fell in love with it. It's just an amazing, inspiring movie. After that, I first went to their website, looked them up. Again, amazing things going on there. So I contacted them, seeing if they would be interested in coming out and giving this training. And they said they'd love to. They haven't done this in Colorado before, so I am thrilled to have them out here. They're just amazing people.
Yeah, we've had Rupert before on the show, and he exudes something that just makes you feel better. I don't know what it is what kind of mojo he has going on, but it's something cool that he has going on. So you're in Colorado. Tell us exactly where the farm is in Colorado.
Okay, well, we're in Black Forest, which is immediately north of Colorado Springs. So we're 10 minutes from Colorado Springs center, if you will. And it's a beautiful place, completely treed. You feel like you're in the mountains, but you don't have to drive the 45 minutes to an hour to get there. So we're right on Burgess, right off of Vollmer, and very easy to get to us.
Okay. And so you've got two separate things going on. First, the movie viewing. And if people want to come and just do the movie viewing and they don't have availability for the weekend, they can just come and see the movie viewing.
By all means, come meet Rupert, see what we have, see the area, watch the demonstration. I can't wait to see what's going to happen.
I think it's going to be absolutely thrilling. And so to attend the movie viewing, that's just a $15 fee, and they can come and you guys are going to watch the movie and they can meet and greet. And then for people who want to do the workshop on the weekend, people can join you for the workshop?
Yes. You can sign up either at the movie viewing, providing there are open seats, or on my webpage, there is a link to either pay full or pay for a deposit, and you can reserve a seat that way.
Okay, and so are people, they will also need to stay someplace close by, or is there any place for them to stay?
Well, we have 15 acres. If they want to camp, that is completely allowable.
Okay.
But yes, if you want an actual room, there are several hotels in the local area within 5-10 minutes of here. So,
really,
or in town.
Okay, really very amazing. And I think that you're going to have an awesome time. I actually want to hear about it afterwards. But the dates for this, again, are July 19th. And then, so that's for the movie viewing. And then the 20th and the 21st of July, it's the workshop at the farm.
Yes, correct.
So tell us a little bit about Elysian Fields Farms. I know when I saw this the other day, I was like, oh, already I love this place just from the name of it. It sounds incredible. How long have you had this farm?
We started back in 2010. I was getting ready for my retirement, and now I'm retired. So I'm doing this pretty much full time. It is a blending of my last name, Ellis, and Frisian, which is my favorite guy here. He's a Frisian, so I put them together, and it said Elysian, and I'm like, ooh, Elysian Fields. That just was absolutely beautiful. I've always loved Greek and Roman mythology, so it just fell into place. Plus, his name is Marcus, and as soon as I got him, I'm like, ooh, Marcus Aurelius. It just, all these pieces fell together, so it was perfect, I thought.
It is. It's an absolutely beautiful name. And so it's a working horse farm, or do you do other stuff as well?
I am in the process of getting certified for equine gestalt coaching,
Lovely.
Which is a unique coaching method where it's all experiential. Yeah. It's not your typical hippotherapy type of coaching. You are interacting with the horses one-on-one in a myriad of different ways. There's anything from goal setting to any kind of issues that you've had, you're stuck in life because of problems in the past, and these horses will help you identify when you're being completely honest with yourself.
Wow.
And they basically do things that make you realize this is an area you need to think about and work through. It's fabulous.
Well, it sounds incredible. And I know we've talked about on this show a lot about animals and the truth that animals bring to our children and to ourselves. And they don't know how to be duplicitous. It is an amazing thing. And in particular, the way children on the autism spectrum interact with animals is often truly, it's amazing. I don't use the word miraculous loosely, but sometimes there is an interaction that happens that is beyond explanation. And I will say that I'm a big dog person, and I know there are people out there who love cats and who love dogs, but there is something unique about horses. And the way that horses communicate with people, they are lovely animals, and just their size. There is something about them that is majestic, and to see children on the autism spectrum interact with them, the few times that I've gotten to do that, it's really pretty magical. And Horse Boy, it isn't just about for autism, but one of the reasons why we're covering it here is because it is an amazing opportunity for our kids on the autism spectrum. Are you hoping, as you move with the farm, are you looking to service a wide variety of clients, or are you hoping to have a little niche that has just to do with autism?
Well, I plan to work with the autism, with the children, and then with the parents, caregivers using the Gestalt method, as well as service members who have PTSD.
Wonderful.
Talking with the Horse Boy, they were interested in getting into PTSD as well, and I am so looking forward to working with them on how to integrate PTSD and their method. So
amazing. Amazing. So I just want to specify, though, for people coming and doing your workshop, this would be a workshop for caregivers. This isn't a workshop where they would be bringing the children. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
This is the training prior to bringing the children out. We all need to know what we're doing before you introduce these children to anything new like this. I need to know what I'm doing.
Yeah. But other people could come and train along with you so that they could become proficient as well.
Completely. From what I understand, many of his methods can be used at home without the horse. So this is more than just a hippotherapy program. It's almost like a full life program, which I think is absolutely amazing.
Well, I think that you're amazing. Your farm sounds amazing. And we know that Horse Boy is amazing, and we're big fans of Rupert and his entire team. So I think you've got something really incredible going on. And I hope that people will take advantage. We've got your website that we'll put up again. There it is. Thank you, Emily. And want to encourage people to go to your website and sign up to come. And is there a pre-sign up for the movie as well?
No, there isn't. This is just a show up and watch.
Okay, but you might want to pre-register to come and hold a spot if you want to go to the workshop, because it very easily could sell out. So I would encourage people to go and at least put a deposit down so that you make sure that there is a spot for you in the workshop if that's something that you're interested in doing. Although you've said that if they come and see the movie and then say, okay, I've got to be a part of this, there may end up being a spot available that they could, in that moment, make the decision to join you for the weekend.
Completely.
Well, Carol, I think it's amazing. I hope that you guys will take pictures, and then maybe we can have you on after the workshop to talk about what happened.
That sounds awesome.
Well, you guys take care. We're going to continue talking about this all week long because we just think that it's amazing. And I wish you the greatest of success, and say hello to all those Horse Boy people for us.
I certainly will. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Take care.
Okay.
Bye-bye. Amazing. Carol Ellis from Elysian Fields Farm, and they're getting ready to do an entire weekend from July 19th to Sunday, July 21st with Horseboy. You've heard us talk about them here before. Rupert Isaacson has been on the show before, and if you don't believe me about the fact that he's got this mojo that's all his own, watch on our Facebook, put in Horseboy, and you'll get to see him. He is just one of those people. You know how some people you're just around and you go, wow, I feel better being around this person. He's that kind of person. So check it out. But definitely you want to check out Elysian Fields Farm. And if you're anywhere going to be, if you want to take a vacation and be near Colorado Springs from July 19th to Sunday, July 21st, I think it's an amazing opportunity. All right, we're going to take a break and we're going to come back with more of the show after these messages.
When you find out you're having a boy, you always think like, oh, he's going to play football, he's going to do this and that. And then when he's diagnosed, all those things get washed away.
It's like that piece that's always in the back of your mind, you know, where is he, what is he doing, is he safe?
We really didn't know what we were dealing with. I wish that they could have directed me a little bit more and provided me some information.
I was a young mom. I didn't know what it was like to raise a boy, despite a boy with autism.
Hundreds of thousands of families are not getting the help they need for their children with autism all around the country. ACT Today is determined to bridge the gap. These families really have to go through a lot to get a grant. The application process isn't easy. The records, the diagnosis proof, they're really battling for their kids. So when we can give them a grant, it is so wonderful to see that they succeed in getting that help for their children. Our founder, Dr. Doreen Graham-Pichet, is an amazing woman, and she is one of the world's foremost authority on behavior of children with autism. She's extremely knowledgeable, and she oversees every single grant we give. She is part of that process. People may think of autism care and treatment as simply schooling or therapy, but you know, we provide important safety supports, things like fencing, for example. The whole family's living in fear of that child running out into traffic. I recently delivered an iPad to a little boy with some of the apps that are out there for children with autism. Miracles happen.
I got the iPad from ACT.
From ACT,
What
yeah.
did it say? Can you repeat that, Dustin?
I got the iPad from ACT.
We have helped so many military families, and when I think of these brave families that are fighting two battles, one to protect our country and one for the right treatment and care for their children, it breaks my heart, and I think we have to do more as a nation to help them.
There's not a day that doesn't go by that we don't think about it. Some people say, oh, he's normal. You don't see the battles that I see every single day. My husband does have to deploy, and when they get on that bus, that might be the last time that my kids ever see them.
So I called and they informed me that he had received a grant, which was like a blessing from above. I was just like speechless. I just started to cry because, you know, without it, we would have been lost.
The ACT grant was a total miracle, and without that, they wouldn't be able to receive the service dog. So we're so appreciative what they've done for us as a family.
Recently, ACT Today funded a program for military children with autism in San Diego, the Inclusion Films program, which is run by Joey Travolta and teaches kids on the autism spectrum literal filmmaking skills. They learn how to make a movie.
We're ready? There you go, got it. Okay. Everything that goes into the process of making a film goes into everyday life. So they're learning life skills, they're learning to collaborate.
It was really nice to know how much they were enjoying this camp, and they're with people who are supporting them and are making them feel great about themselves and their differences and their similarities. And I get two kids that are working together and apart and together and apart, so it's an interrelationship as well as a camp and a learning experience.
It's so fulfilling when I get letters. One stands out for me, a boy who was 14 with Asperger's, and we gave him a grant to go to a drama camp. He wrote to us and said, "Dear ACT Today, thank you for letting me belong for the first time in my life." These kids are remarkable. You know, we underestimate them. They're so knowledgeable, they're so capable, and we can change the life of a family, which means changing the life of a community.
Welcome back to Autism Live. So I've just been doing a little bit of research, and it's Dr. David Voss, I don't know whether he is MAPS certified yet, but that's who it is, Dr. David Voss, and I'm seeing a couple of different places that he practices. I don't know what is current. I haven't had enough time, but so that is the doctor. There is at least one place. It's the Children's Biomedical Clinic of Utah. Then there is also the Freedom Medical Center in Provo. And he is a pediatrician who was a Defeat Autism Now doctor. So there you have it. And I'll continue to find out some more information. We'll see if we can't get a direct contact number for that. I hope that you guys will utilize our resources here whenever you need them and ask, because there's no point in just being frustrated. And I like to say, and I usually say it to myself before the show starts, because I don't know about you, but I have that thing that a lot of us have as parents where we feel like we have to do everything, and you can't, right? We can't do everything. And my mantra every day is that if I can help at least one of you save 5 minutes and $5, then I showed up and I got something done. My hope is, of course, to always do more than that, but if we can do at least that, if I can save you 5 minutes on this journey, then I know what the value of 5 minutes and $5 is when your child is diagnosed with autism. So don't hesitate to ask us to do some of the legwork for you. We're really thrilled and happy, and sometimes the legwork for us is shorter because we just are connected with more people, and we have resources that who would dream of that. I sometimes, even myself, I have an hour a week that I get to sit here with Dr. Doreen Grandpichet, and I try to leave the questions to be your questions, but every once in a while I'll say, hey, what about this? Or and then she tells me something and hooks me up with a resource that blows my mind. So we all need to be using our resources to the fullest of our extent, and sometimes it's being connected to experts who know ever so much more than we could know on this journey. Because, there's that old thing about, wait a minute, how do I not know about that? What was I doing? Oh, right. I was making sure that my child was eating and was dressed and was safe and wasn't running into the street. So yeah, no, I didn't go and get that researched. I get it. So lean on us whenever you want to. We're happy to help in any way that we can. I promised that we were going to talk a little bit about adaptive skills today. Super duper important that we not leave that out of the equation. As I mentioned earlier today, all of our kids should be working on adaptive goals because wherever they are in their development, there are things that they want to be able to do for themselves long term for a lot of different reasons. And we cannot discount the fact that self-esteem is a huge, huge reason for that to happen. I was really reminded recently, I just had my 5-year-old niece who we tried to get her to come in and be on the show. And I think she may have been on camera for a millisecond on Friday, or what day was it? I don't even know what day that was. Thursday. But then she said, I don't want to. But it was very interesting to me to see how she is in her typical development, how often I would be doing something for her that she would say, no, I want to do it myself. And that articulate about it, like overemphasizing the words, I want to do it myself, because she wanted to be clear with me and she was frustrated with me that I wanted to do it for her. And here I was, she's 5 and I have a son who's turning 10, and it really brought home to me how many things I still have an expectation and want to do for my son. Sometimes because it's just easier and faster, right? Which I can fault myself for as a parent, but really, who's that helping? But also how much pride she took in when she did it herself. And that I want things to be fast and easy sometimes, and we have to get out the door. So I will go and gather things up together for my son because I want to get out the door. But having watched that 5-year-old who was like, wait a second, and of course she's a girl, and that is different. We know that girls' play skills are different, that their social skills are different, and that their EF skills develop at a different rate than boys do. So we take that into consideration, right? And she is an exceptional 5-year-old who, she's one of those 5-year-olds that has her bag that she takes everywhere. When I was a 5-year-old, actually, I think when I was a 5-year-old, I had a purse, but by the time I was 6, the purse went away for many, many years. I can remember having my purse in kindergarten. But she was like, wait, I have to get a juice box. I have to have a drink in my purse while I want to have my iPad with me. I need to charge my iPad. She just really incredible EF skills, planning skills ahead of time, and very into taking charge of her adaptive skills. And it just brought home to me, I need to back off a little bit of doing things for my son. That if every moment is a teaching opportunity, then what more, I need to leave room in the schedule so that we're not always leaving with 3 minutes to spare, so that I'm gathering up all of his accoutrements to take in the car, that he has to be held responsible for more and more of that. This is going to sound ridiculous, but I know I'm talking to my community and you guys know, but it's only been in the last year that I have been making him responsible for closing his own car door. That I was always coming behind him and closing his car door for him. And now he's 10 and I go, what's up with that? Looking back, I know we were working on other things, but something as small as that, I don't want him to be a 16-year-old who just opens a car door and gets out and walks away, right? So we get back to that thing of, what day do you start this? On the day that it makes sense. On the day that it makes sense. But stop and think for a moment, what are all the skills that your child will need to have adaptively if you're not there? I know, we just get into that thing and your head goes, but I have to live forever because I have to take care of my child forever. But the truth of the matter is that none of us is going to be able to do that. So while we're here, if we make a mental list or an actual list of, here are all the skills that adaptively that we want them to be able to do by the time they're an adult, and if they're already an adult, what are the adaptive skills that we're going to pinpoint and saying, okay, what's possible right now? Now, I'll give you a little hint. You don't actually have to make that list, because if you have the skills program, it's already there for you, which is a pretty amazing thing. But you can make the list yourself and prioritize is the next step of saying, okay, so here, we're prioritizing and then taking a look and saying, okay, what is age appropriate here? Because we can begin to teach a 2-year-old how to brush their own teeth, right? We absolutely can begin to do that. We can probably do that at younger than 2. Although for the 2-year-old, we're not going to rely on them to do it completely on their own, where we've left the room and left them in charge of it and we know that it's getting done properly. That's just crazy talk, right? So there are aspects of it, though, that we want to teach when they're 2, so that when they're 3, there are more aspects that we chain onto it. When they're 4, we chain them onto it. Now, if you've got a 7-year-old that you've been brushing their own teeth, this is not the end of the world, right? We can start and move quicker through these steps. But we still want to do it a little bit at a time and chain these different skills together. And maybe right now you're doing all of the toothbrushing, but as we make the list of all the skills that it takes to brush the teeth, we start with taking the cap off of the toothpaste and loading up the toothbrush, right? So maybe you're still doing the brushing, but my question to you is, can we put that skill on your child's plate? Or if that's too advanced, and don't be afraid to say that that's too advanced, maybe you load the toothbrush, but they turn on the water. A lot of people like to wet their toothbrush and toothpaste before they put it in the mouth. Not everybody. But if you do, then maybe your child starts with turning on the water and then you wet it. And then when they get the turning on the water, maybe you have them turn on the water and wet the toothbrush, right? Maybe they just do the beginning For a while, we were doing a thing where he had to hum "Happy Birthday" while he was singing because he had to go through it twice. Same thing we were doing with hand washing because he wasn't washing his hands long enough. You know that really they say that to get your hands clean, you're supposed to sing "Happy Birthday" all the way through twice to get the proper. So we were doing that with hands and with toothbrushing because he just wasn't doing it long enough. So stop and think about what aspect of toothbrushing are you prepared for your child to teach that's realistic. Could be one little increment of it. And then what else is there? You know, where are you ready to take on toileting? Or is toileting already something that's there and your child has every aspect of toileting? They're able to know when to go to the bathroom. They're able to flush appropriately. Do you need to work on now taking that out and putting the toilet seat cover on? It's fascinating to me that different states, here in California, there are toilet seat covers no matter where you are, always. And then there are some states where it is, you know, non-existent. But so in your individual state, we loved going, recently stopping at the Chicago airport where you push the button and it wraps the toilet seat itself and it's mechanized. I thought my son's head was going to explode. It was so much fun. Of course, he wanted to take apart the toilet to see how it worked. And fortunately, we didn't have time for that. But really important that we be thinking about the adaptive skills. And I used to angrily talk about a webinar that I went to years ago where a psychologist who supposedly, I'm sure, actually had experience working with kids on the autism spectrum. But she was giving advice to families, parents, about parenting children on the autism spectrum. And she said, whatever you're working on, just take and write it down on a Post-it note and put it on your refrigerator. And that's how it'll help you to remember that that's what you're working on. And I literally was offended and furious because I wanted to say, lady, if you knew how many things we were working on, I would need to go to Sears and use all the refrigerators to put all the Post-it notes up of all the things that we're working on, right? It was just crazy to me that what we were working on was going to be in a Post-it note. And she was talking about, you know, like with my children this week, I'm working on politeness. And that was the big thing that she was working on that week. And I thought, well, how fabulous for you and your neurotypical children. Because with my son, we're working on these 800 things in my way of thinking. Now, having said that, in my offense at her saying that, I do think that there are some things that if you wanted to write down on a Post-it note and say, hey, and maybe you stick 8 Post-it notes up. Maybe you say, hey, there's 8 areas that I'm working on things. And so here's the EF goal that I'm working on this week. And here's the cognitive goal I'm working on this week. And here is the adaptive goal that I'm working on this week. Underneath all of those things, of course, there will be other things that you're working on. So maybe the adaptive goal that you're working on for this week is toileting, which means that you're going to be working on, you know, pulling up the pants and pulling down the pants. And you're going to be working on knowing and communicating that they need to go to the bathroom. And you're going to be working on flushing the toilet. And you're going to be working on washing hands and all of those different things, right? But we don't have to list those on the Post-it note. You know, my question, I guess, is what would be the adaptive skill that you would most like to target this week? And how are you going to go about doing that? And you can do it on your own, but again, there is always skills to help you to identify here would be a good adaptive goal for your child's age and for their skill level. And here's exactly the steps that you need to teach it. If you need that kind of support, it's available on Skills. But adaptive skills, they're super duper duper important. They give our children the freedom to access the rest of the world and to be efficient and onto themselves, and that self-worth of I did it, even for our kids, is often very, very reinforcing. There is a pride that comes with that. That is not to be denied. We did have a question that somebody wrote in about potty training and that their child needs help to sit on the toilet. And we're going to discuss this a little bit. We're mainly going to leave this for when we have experts in the rest of the week. But we're going to take a short break and come back and we'll discuss it a little bit and talk about the kinds of things we have going on this week on the show. So stick with us.
I'm Shannon Penrod, and this is my son, Jem. We're here today at the Home Depot. You might know that Home Depot is famous for giving free classes to adults on lots of things like tiling and other home crafts. Well, they also have free classes for kids as well. It's called the Kids Workshop. We love doing that, don't we, Jem?
Yeah.
It's cool. So come on inside with us and let's do a craft.
Yay.
The Kids Workshop is a program that's been around with Home Depot almost since we've been a company, and it's been developed to allow kids in the community to come in and give them an opportunity to build something, to be able to create something and be able to take just simple wood pieces and put them together with nails and hammers and screwdrivers and then paint them.
So you do this every first Saturday of the month.
Any Home Depot that you go to on the first Saturday of every month between 9 and 12, you can join different associates throughout different stores and build these projects with these kids.
And do they have to do anything beforehand, or can they just show up on that Saturday?
All they need to do is show up. We have all the tools, all the materials that the kids will need. We have aprons that we give to the kids that they can take home and maintain their pins. They get pins on a regular basis for completing projects. With that, they can keep track of how many projects they've done. And
it's all free.
It's all absolutely free, all
Which is
provided.
wonderful. And Wilson, I have to say, you know, you guys devised this for all kids to be able to do this.
Correct.
What I particularly love about it as an autism mom, it gives my child a place to come and learn a new skill, to socialize with kids of all kinds.
Absolutely. And that's what we're here for. Home Depot is definitely loves to be involved with the community and bring the community in to work with us. That's what we love to do.
Welcome back to Autism Live. So we're talking a little bit about toileting, because the question that came is, the person wrote, I need help with potty training. My son does not want to sit on the toilet. He tells us when he needs to go, but he is not willing to sit. And the expression that they've used here is sit in the toilet seat. What can I do? And we'll ask our experts this as well. But my first question is, have you tried a potty chair? That when you stop and think about everything that there is about a bathroom and everything that there is about a toilet and all the sensory issues that come with a toilet, it's overwhelming. And, you know, first of all, bathrooms tend to be echoey places. And they tend to be smaller places. I'm just thinking, and this is going to sound ridiculous, but I'm thinking about my dog, who we've had confirmation has post-traumatic stress syndrome, the dog. She has been through something, and I can't begin to know everything that she's been through, but she has an aversion to bathrooms. They are tight spaces, and I talked to the animal behaviorist and I said, what's the deal with the bathroom? He said, you know, she could have been locked up in one, but when you stop and think about it, and he said all these things to me, and I went, yes, 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 I know this. They're tight spaces. And so, and when you go in and when the door is shut, they're very echoey spaces, because usually there's a lot of tile, and tile is very sound reactive, and sometimes sensory wise, that is difficult for our kids. Some of our kids later on report that they couldn't make sense of things when people would talk to them. They just couldn't sort out where the words were. Imagine that in an echoey chamber. That much worse, right? There's a lot of reflective surfaces in bathrooms that, you know, there's mirrors, and sometimes there's chrome and things that glint, and light is usually stronger than it is everywhere else in the house. So a lot of sensory issues going on in the bathroom. Then you got a big toilet, and in a lot of cases it's white, although not always, and they tend to be cold. That's why dogs like to drink out of them, because the water is colder in the toilet bowl, because it just water that's piped in from underground, and toilet seats tend to be cold. And there's a hole. And if you know, some kids are fascinated by the hole, and they want to go in and flush, and they want to flush things down the toilet to watch them disappear. And some of our kids are horrified by that hole and see it as something, even though it doesn't make any logical sense in terms of how big they are. We know that developmentally, children do not understand size in proportion to themselves. So they look at that hole and see things go away, things that came out of them, and it can be traumatic to them. So I would ask, first and foremost, have you tried the potty chair? Because the potty chair has the ability to eliminate a lot of that. You can take the potty chair and stick it someplace else. It can be sitting on a carpet so that it's, not a sound reactive place. It doesn't have to be in the bathroom. It doesn't have a hole where things are going away. It has a hole where things stay. And the children can look at it and go, oh, look what came out of me. They make all different kinds of potty chairs that do all kinds of things. The one that we had to begin with, and it didn't work for very long, but it had a noise, it had a sensor on it. It was like a throne. And if they did anything, if anything passed the sensor, it did dun da da da. Automatic reinforcement, right? And I have to say that my son thought that was just really, really cool. I think for other kids, it might scare them literally off the potty. So, knowing what's right for your child, but finding the way to make the toilet fun and desensitize them from the toilet. And maybe you need to start with taking it out of the bathroom and getting them used to sitting on something that has a hole. Even if it's, they make those donuts that are cushioned pillows that are for when you have other issues like hemorrhoids. So maybe it starts with having them sit on a hole, something that has a hole on it where they're not going to do anything, and reinforcing them for that. One of the other things, when we started out, the potty chair was outside the bathroom. Then eventually it went into the bathroom. And then eventually he got to pick out the step stool that got him up onto the toilet seat. And we had, via direction, to make our bathroom that he used to be the funnest place on the face of the earth. Like, we never allowed there to be anything negative to happen in that room. It was full of toys. It was crazy how full of toys it was. And that if he went in, we had a little portable video player, and the only time he could play it was when he was sitting on the potty. So, and we had special books that were for the potty time. It's so important that if the child is having aversion to something, that we not just go, well, he's just going to get over it, right? That we go really, really slow. I would encourage you to look at Jack Riley and what they did for him with food on the A word, and how slowly they moved because of how sensitive he was to a banana. Seeing a banana in the skin, and that child would just burst into tears. And now we just saw in last week's portion of it, he's eating a banana and peeling it himself, and there's no trauma, but they moved really, really slowly. So I would encourage you, and we'll continue to ask the experts for their opinion on that as well, but I would encourage you to move really, really slowly and think about what you're working on and what your goals are, because it doesn't have to happen in the toilet. Having them get to toilet and teaching that aspect of it can happen on a potty seat someplace else in the house. It really can. And people have been able for years to move that from, in the hallway, eventually into the bathroom, moving really, really slowly. But if it feels weird to have something falling out of your body, first of all, and going into a cavern, and then you're terrified of the other, it may be best to separate them. Okay, so hopefully that was helpful. We just got a couple of minutes now, and I want to talk about some of the things that we have going on this week. Tomorrow, we're going to be joined by Evelyn Gould, who's going to be with us, and we'll definitely ask her this question as well. Then on Wednesday, we have Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy, a really important show. It's going to be the last Ask Dr. Doreen, the last Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy until we come back in July. So take advantage this week. It's not too early for you to be writing in questions on the live feature. Specify for Dr. Doreen so that I know that you want me to ask it specifically of her. And you can also be sending those questions in to us on Facebook. So a lot of exciting stuff that's going on there. And then we aren't doing a live show on Thursday. I will be at my son's school. It is the last day of school, and I need to be there. I am the room mother. I know. How did that happen? It's my first time being a room mother, and I wasn't a great room mother. I just have to say, I think there's a learning curve to this, but I need to be there for the year-end party. And then I will be back on Friday. We will have Dr. Adele Nadowski with us and Dr. Jonathan Tarbox. They will be answering your questions, and we're going to be talking about adaptive skills with all of them. But then we are not going to be here for live shows for the next 2 weeks, for those last 2 weeks in June. I'm going to be on the road in Iowa and then driving back from Iowa. And so if there's an autism event that is somewhere between Iowa and Los Angeles around that time, let me know. I might get to I might just drop in. You just never know. So I hope that you'll keep me posted, and we'll do a little video blogging, hopefully from the road, if it doesn't get too insane. Taking my son with me. And it should be a very exciting time. I hope that you are looking forward to things this summer, that you have things on your agenda that you want to do. And Emily's going to cycle through some of the different ways that you can get in touch with us, by the way. I hope that you're taking the time to give yourself a visual plan, and that we're all working on having a visual plan for our children so that they can actively participate in what happens and that they can know what's coming up next. I know some people love surprises, but I don't think any of us love surprises on a minute-by-minute basis. You know, when we were going through our early intervention, we lived and breathed by our schedule. And I found it frustrating sometimes, but it was essential to us making progress. So I hope that you'll take the time to make a schedule for yourself and make a visual schedule for your child. We all like to know what's going on and where we're going. And your child will appreciate it too. And I'd love to hear from you once you do the visual schedule, if you see your child is adapting better to transitions, is adapting better to schedule changes, and if you're having less challenging behavior. We'd love to hear from you about that. Okay, we are going to be back tomorrow at 10 a.m. on Pacific time, 1 p.m. Eastern time. Lots of different topics that we're going to be talking about, and hopefully we'll have a chance to get to Mike Hippel's book tomorrow, because we talked about that on Friday. But we will be back tomorrow. Until then, please give your kiddos a hug from me. Bye-bye for now.